Welcome back, everybody. The History Guy here. This is episode 3, playing as the German Empire. A return to the monarchy of Germany under Kaiser Georg Friedrich I, who is a historical character and is actually the current head of the Hohenzollern family, which is the royal family of Germany. So this is episode 3. It is the year 2003, playing with the modern day mod. Millennium Dawn, as well as the Trump and Brexit edition added on, but I did not start it in the year 2016 or 17 with that one, so I'm basically just using Millennium Dawn at this point. So right now, just continuing to build up the military. I'm starting to think about where I might expand without drawing the ire of the entire world. And there are a number of countries near me that basically don't have any alliances or anybody guaranteeing their protection, which, of course, make for some juicy opportunities for expansion if I so choose. So I'm just thinking about options right now as far as where I want to grow. I'm really not concerned about a navy. That's not something that's really even on my radar right now. So there's really kind of limited options. So I guess I'll go with some things like self-propelled artillery, which don't take all that long. Let me look at trade for a second, because I'm wondering how I can limit what I have to import by dealing with what I'm exporting right now. So I'm really thinking about changing my trade status. Right now I'm at free trade. If I go to limited exports, that's obviously going to affect my factory output, my construction speed, and my research time. But in turn, it's going to get me a bunch of freed up factories because I don't have to trade as much. So I think we're going to go to limited exports. It's going to cost 500 government points. But in the process, you can see here, it's going to free up trade quite a bit. So that'll take until the next day to take effect. In the meantime, construction. We're going to keep queuing up these military factories so we can kind of put the building up of my military into overdrive. So let's go ahead and see what this does to trade. Alright, so now you can see we've freed up a bunch of resources. So I get to free up some factories now. We can go again there. So the trade-off is worth it as far as going to that limited exports. Wow, I just freed up a bunch trading for rubber. So I freed up a bunch of my factories. So I've got 52 civilian factories. So now I can produce these military factories a little faster. So we'll see what happens. Working on military build-up 3, which is going to get some more factories going. Nothing else for at least a couple of weeks. I've got my next air doctrine, and I'll just kind of keep that tree going when that one runs out. Alright, our military build-up 3 is complete. We're going to continue kind of going down that road, I think. Now, you know what? I'm thinking maybe it's time to start looking at some politics a little bit, international things to do here, and I'm looking at some interesting ones here, and it's European politics. That's kind of the direction I want to go, and we've got the option to befriend France, Ministry for European Cooperation. We've got befriend Russia over here. So some options to consider, but it all starts with European politics. So we're going to go that route first. I'm up to 30 divisions now in my army. I'm starting to get a respectable size in my army, but still a long, long way to go. Let's look and see who are the monarchist nations around the world. Of course, a lot of them are far away, a lot of them in Africa, places like that. But we've got the Czech Kingdom. Oh, Israel is now a kingdom. That's really interesting. The Kingdom of Israel. They have King Arya Deri. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right or not, but that's pretty fascinating to see that they have gone to a kingdom. Let's see who else has. Diplomacy, there we go. Alright, kingdoms. Malaysia, Jordan, a lot of places we knew before. Okay, Kingdom of Bulgaria. There's a coup in Red Eagle, Ecuador. Interesting. We'll go take a look at them in a second. So most of the other ones are places we already knew were kingdoms. Uruguay, perhaps not. But so let's take a look at Ecuador for a second. Where is Ecuador? It's right here, right? Yep. So they are communist now. Red Eagle, Ecuador, the communist nation. So, man, a lot of changes happening around the world as far as the governments in various nations. United States still in NATO. Not much left of NATO. The state of Canada. They're nationalists. As is, well, I thought Britain was. No, it's Australia I'm thinking of. Belarus is also communist now. However, Russia is not. So that's kind of interesting. I don't know what Putin's up to right now, but we'll keep an eye on all that stuff. In the meantime, nothing happening anytime soon with research, so we got a nice little break coming unless something happens in the world. All right, European politics is complete. It's August of 2003, and we're going to go befriend France. And the reason why is that's going to take me down the road to being able to choose this option down here, which is I got to choose without Britain, and then I can go to split NATO, which gives me the ability to create a faction, the Berlin Alliance. So that's what I'm kind of after here, is the ability to create my own alliance. My own faction. So that's where we're headed right now with that. World tension's at 14% at the moment, and that's mostly because I claimed the borders of 1914, which, of course, if you're familiar with history at all, before World War I, Germany, of course, had the old parts of what became Prussia, so chunks of what is now Poland were all in German hands. As well as some other places around here. And, of course, you had the Austro-Hungarian Empire down here. But that's all a different war, a different time. So we're just kind of waiting on these diplomatic actions to take hold so we can press ahead with our own faction and then start thinking about expansion. We're going to complete another land doctrine here in just a second. And production continues. I'm actually building up a nice surplus of some of these things. I think I'll probably start creating some new air units here shortly. And I'm starting to work on some infrastructure as well, so I'll be able to move around a little faster in my territory when I need to. This is going to boost tanks organization, recovery rate. So all of this has to do with my focus on armor. Just like the historical Germany. So I'm gonna rush all these units into the field, even though they don't have all that they need yet. So that's going to get me up to 36 divisions now, and eventually I'll get to the place where I'll be able to replenish those, especially as I'm producing more and more military factories, which I'm going to start queuing up again. And those are building fairly quickly, which is nice. Next thing is going to be a naval, or no, I guess this is air doctrine here. And then nothing else really happening anytime soon until we get to befriend France. Then we'll go to without Britain, which is going to be a declaration of hostility on the Brits, which is going to be kind of interesting. We may be heading down the road to similar battle lines as World War II, but I hope that's not necessarily the case. It is November 2003, and we're going without Britain on this one. So let's see what that does. In the meantime, not much else happening. 12 days away from towed rocket artillery, which really kind of isn't even something I'm concerned about having. I'm thinking maybe my first target for expansion is going to be like the historic Germany of 1930s. We're going to look at Austria, a German-speaking people with no alliances of any kind. They are not a monarchy. But I'll wait and see when I create the faction who joins it, because I don't want to be setting up to attack a country that's going to become a part of my faction. So we'll wait on that. After we do without Britain, we will go to split NATO, and at that point, which is about, 4 months away, we should have a better idea of where things stand in the world. So we're entering into 2004 now, and I'm just kind of looking at the different factions that exist in the world. We've got NATO, which only now includes France, Greenland, Denmark, Iceland, Luxembourg, Norway, Poland, Portugal, Spain, and the United States. Very few countries left in NATO. NATO has crumbled. And when I choose this national focus that splits NATO, I'll be curious to see what happens since, Germany's not even a part of it anymore. We also have the CSTO, which is just Russia and Tajikistan. And then, of course, the London Pact, which is just the United Kingdom. So that's about it. We're about to finish without Britain. And we also have further research to be done. I think we're going to go with this Eurofighter Typhoon, even though it's actually 2 years away. I want to get some advanced planes going. All right, without Britain's about to complete, we'll see what happens. Now that we're able to go split NATO and create the Berlin Alliance. Without the British, everything is more fun. Sadly, they are still in NATO. It is time to rid ourselves of these unwanted Anglos and kick the Americans, the Brits, and the Canadians out of our alliance, which is kind of funny because NATO doesn't exist anymore. So I guess it'll be curious to see if that actually kicks the United States out of NATO since I'm no longer a part of it. But the end result is still going to be the same, which is that we want to create our own alliance. I just don't know who's going to be in it yet. Hopefully I'll be able to add other countries to it once that happens. All right, so as we await the formation of a new alliance, the Berlin Alliance, I have gone ahead and created a new army, an invasion force, if you will, to prepare for an invasion of Austria in the event they're not part of my alliance. So here we go. Looks like oh, wow. Spain has accepted, so Spain becomes the first member of my new alliance. Poland accepts. Portugal accepts. Norway accepts. Luxembourg rejects. Oh, you're on my list now, Luxembourg, you tiny little fools. Iceland accepts. France rejects. That shall be a mistake, sir. All right, so let's take a look now at our newly formed alliance. Pretty excited about this. The Berlin Alliance includes Iceland, Norway, Portugal, Poland, and Spain. Now we turn our attention to Austria. And we're going to begin to justify a war goal against Austria. It's going to take the better part of a year, 230 days, to do that. But let it begin. And if Poland so chooses to join in, they may. And it looks like I can't invite anybody new to my faction until world tension gets to 50%. But don't worry, we're going to get it there. That'll be something that'll be coming down the road as I begin to invade European powers. So, time for a new national focus. So where can we go with this? We can befriend Italy. Certainly doesn't hurt to get some more European powers on my side for the coming struggle. See if there's any new. I don't think there's any new decisions available that weren't already there. So nothing I really want to partake of at the moment. Once we get to more than 20 war support, we can trigger some of these other events here. In the meantime, got another month or so before any of those things happen. So we're just kind of in a holding pattern. The justification of war against Austria will be complete on November 6th of 2004, so later on this year. All right, we're at the end of May 2004. We're about to befriend Italy. We have completed that now. I don't think it's quite enough that we're able to invite them to an alliance. We would need to trigger an event for that since we're not at 50%. So right now, I'm kind of looking at some other options here, which include being able to offer said alliance to nations in Africa and also South America. So we're going to start focusing on intercontinental politics for a little while, with the idea of creating some alliances in other parts of the world while we continue to focus on what we're doing in Europe. So I'm going to go ahead and just keep these military factories coming. I've still got lots and lots of room to build those military factories. And my manpower is staying pretty static because my manpower is growing right at about the rate that I'm putting new units in the field. So That's working out. Now, at some point that may change, and at that point I'll have to consider changes to my conscription laws to make up the difference. But for the time being, I'm doing well. Hohenzollern popularity is at 58%, so that continues to go up. And we're just going to kind of get ready here for the gear up to war on Austria. Well then, looks like we've got a war going on in the world here. All diplomats in Ethiopian Empire have failed. They will now sort out their differences with the enemy on the battlefield. Ethiopia has declared a war on Eritrea, so relatively minor in the grand scheme of things, but a war nonetheless. And here's Eritrea right on the coast. So it looks like Ethiopia is just planning to expand themselves out to the coast so they can maybe have some waterfront property there. I have started atomic research, so we can start working on our German nuclear program. But otherwise, I'm not entirely sure where I want to go right now with this. Let's see where we're at. I guess we could probably start focusing on new armor, even though we're a little ahead of time on that. I'm up to now 39 divisions in the field, although still many of them are underproduced as far as what they need in those units. So I've got to continue working on getting these mechanized units, these tanks in the field, to kind of make up that difference. Okay, so a couple of things have happened here. Syria declares jihad. So we'll see what that means. They're declaring war on all infidel nations the world over. Okay, good luck with that, Syria. Let's take a look real quick. The Greater Turkish State. What are they? They're nationalists. So not a lot of nationalist countries there are right now. So the Syrian Caliphate is here, and really nothing to speak of with that right now. So next thing that's going to be coming up for us here in just a couple of months is the invasion of Austria. Let's go ahead, I think, and focus first on Africa. We're going to start working on that. We're going to befriend the former colonies and eventually invite some of those African nations to become part of our alliance. So that, I mean, I'm not going to be conquering all of Europe. That's really just not a good idea for me, because I'll end up at war with nations that can just destroy me. But maybe spreading to Africa is an option. And that was also a specific request of my new monarchist friend out in Germany, who has asked me to do that. So that's something we'll definitely keep an eye toward when the time comes. So not a whole lot else going on at this moment. I'm just kind of looking over. I did go ahead and take my other units off of garrison duty and put them on the border with France, just because you never know what France might do if I decide to invade Austria. I also went ahead and put in a chief of the Air Force that's going to give me some bonuses to close air support, which is primarily how I'm going to be using my Air Force, at least for the time being. And I'll get some more of those units attached to my army so that I'm ready to go with all of that. One other thing I want to point out, with the latest update, which I think they call Cornflakes, to the game, 1.5, they finally corrected what has been long one of my biggest beefs with the game, which is whenever you have a new unit enter the field, let me see if I can do that. So I'll go ahead and put this Panzer Division in the field, this new one. So anytime, let's say I would assign that unit to an army that already has existing orders, it would not automatically join in those orders. I would have to cancel the orders and reissue those to get it to jump in with those. Now, I simply assign it and it automatically jumps in. So thank you, developers, for finally fixing that issue. That makes things so much easier moving forward, and makes so much more sense to just add a unit to an existing set of orders rather than having to create a new one because you added more units to that field. So up to 41 divisions, and we are just waiting on the countdown to war. Alright, so we're about 2 weeks away from the invasion of Austria, and a bunch of things just happened. Interestingly, my ally Poland has joined the European Union. Estonia has joined the European Union. Cyprus. We also added our focus on Africa. So let's go ahead and look at national focus now. We're going to befriend the former colonies, which is going to greatly improve my view, or the view of my German Empire by a bunch of the former German colonies in Africa. We've got about 2 weeks to go until war is ready to go. I've got to do a couple of things here as far as trade. I have been having to increase my imports once again, but just because of the number of military factories I've been adding, which has been greatly reducing the amount of free factories I have for construction. So I've gone ahead and started queuing up some civilian factories to kind of offset that. Now, civilian factories take a little bit more, I think, to build. Those are 10,800 each, whereas it's 7,200 for military factories. So we'll be doing that for a little while, and we should be back here in 2 weeks to begin the invasion. Well, that was kind of interesting. Just as quickly as they entered the European Union, Estonia has left the European Union. So let's kind of back up a little bit and just kind of get a view of the world as far as factions go before we get into this invasion. I don't think much has changed in terms of the factions. Just that we have a new one here. We've got Berlin Alliance, which is just Iceland, Norway, Poland, Portugal, and Spain. Hopefully we eventually add some African and South American countries to that. Still just Russia and Tajikistan there. NATO is just France, Luxembourg, and the United States at this point. The London Pact is still just the UK. So major countries of the world. German Empire, France, China, India, Japan, Russia, UK, and the United States. It is just about time, folks. We're about to begin this invasion. We're about a day away. We may have to slow time down a little bit. Possibly. Depends on how this goes. But here we go. Justification for conquering Upper Austria for the German Empire is finished. Let's do it. Declare war. I don't think I'll call allies. I can handle this one on my own. May heavens help us. The German Empire goes to war on Austria, her former ally. And let's launch the invasion. Well, that's not really going as well as I'd like to begin with. Ireland just joined the London Pact, so it looks like I drove them into... Oh, no, not Italy. So it looks like people are starting to line up with the UK because of the war. So Finland, Denmark, Cyprus. Oh, my gosh. Wow, wait, Austria just joined it? Does that mean I'm at war with the UK now? Oh, my goodness gracious. I am. Okay. Wow. So our little war on Austria has turned into a war on Austria, Cyprus, Denmark, the UK, Finland, France, Ireland, Iceland, Italy, Luxembourg, Portugal, Poland, Spain, and Sweden. I'm in big trouble. We're definitely going to need to call our allies into this war if I'm going to have any chance at all. Right now it's just me and Norway. All right, so we desperately need everybody else involved. So I'm gonna drop out for a second. I've got to sort some things out here that I don't need to be doing on recording. So getting my air forces going, getting my units kind of repositioned for a war that I thought was just going to be about Austria. All right. So it appears that the rest of my alliance has basically left me hanging. That as all these other folks joined, only Norway has stayed with me. Poland dropped out. Spain, Portugal dropped out. They left me high and dry. I was not expecting that, and that is not at all helpful to have that happen. So I've got to start working on, I've got some air superiority issues to deal with. And I'm just going to have all kinds of problems. He's already, oh my gosh, who is this? They've just driven right down into the middle of my nation. So I'm going to have to... I've got to switch these units over from being... Man, I was not prepared for a war with all these people. I did not think that going after Austria like that would cause the entire world to react. I mean, it makes sense. That's probably what would happen in real life if it came to that. But my goodness, wasn't expecting that at all. All right, so we're going to create a garrison area here so we can send these forces to go deal with this invasion issue. And I've got to get somehow... Whoa, okay, Denmark has... My goodness, this is getting worse and worse all the time. Spain, I don't need you to send divisions, buddy. I need you to be involved in the war. So looks like right now you can see fielded manpower. I've only got 349,000 men. He's got 3 times that amount. Who's the big army that I'm dealing with? Obviously, yeah, it's jeez. So my war with NATO as well. Okay, the U.S. is even involved in this. My goodness, this is going to be over quickly and not very kind to me when it happens. And I'll have to wait until I'm down 50% to even be able to sue for peace at this point. Yeah, I don't really care too much about the naval battle results. Naval battle is the least of my worries right now. I don't have anything that is capable of kind of dealing with all of this. Nor do I have the air forces, apparently, to even get any kind of fighter superiority anywhere. However, I am kind of driving him back now in the middle of Germany. But here comes France now. This is going to be over so quickly, it's not going to be funny. Alright, let's see how bad it is and how quickly I can sue for peace. Alright, we're at 45%. We just need 5 more percent and we can hopefully end this big mistake of a war. Alright, there it is. Let's stop. Who's the leader? I guess it's probably the UK. Yeah, that's not what I wanted. Alright. Diplomacy. UK. Why won't it let me? Oh boy, what a mess. It's not even giving me an option right now for diplomatic options. Alright, let me figure this out. Alright, so it seems that, yeah, the war hasn't been raging for the 6 months necessary to sue for peace, so I guess they're going to have to completely conquer me for this to be over with. Yikes. Well, lesson learned the hard way. Don't invade Austria. I'm not even going to really try to fight it at this point. I'm better off just for them to go ahead and get me to capitulation. Which will be happening sooner rather than later, I think. I've lost 73,000 men. They've only lost 2,000. That's insane. Let it end swiftly. Alright, we're at 85% toward capitulation now. It's really just a matter of a couple of days. This war will be over in less than a couple of months. Alright, German Empire has capitulated. So let's see what that means at this point. Here comes the peace conference. Oh my gosh. They divvied me up. My goodness. I don't even exist anymore. Except as a little nation of French Germany. Wow. Alright, so this is like the shortest series in history. I think that we will probably just have to start over again. And try something different. So I'll think about what I want to do. But for the meantime, we're going to call this quits and just chalk it up to being a important lesson learned in the modern world that you don't do that when you don't have the army to back it up. So there we have it. I'd love to hear your thoughts on what you think I should do. Should I just start over from the beginning? Should I maybe just go back and just make some different choices after that and continue this series? Just kind of maybe go back a year or two in time. Or do something as a different country. Let me know what you think, and I will consider all those options before we decide what to do next. As always, thanks for watching. Thank you for being a part of this, even though that went up in flames dramatically and ended badly. That's the way that this game goes sometimes. Thanks for watching. We'll see you again soon.